Protest music has been a part of our society for as long as music and protests have coexisted, taking many forms and causing a variance of effects. Protest, defined by the Oxford Dictionary as a statement of action expressing disapproval or an objection to something, is something that will be performed by people until we reach the point of a utopian society, meaning it will be clearly here to stay. This also goes for music. No matter how technologically advanced we become, music has never and will never leave us. This suggests how the conjunctional use of the two can create a powerful duo, often sparking change for good or bad. We've seen protest music throughout modern times with the punk movement, rock and roll, rap, and techno scenes that attempt to protest a political or social problem. Protest music in some of its earlier forms dates back to the 1755 Revolutionary War, where protest anthems were the soundtrack of change. Artists such as Woody Guthrie with the song "This Land Is Your Land" wrote to protest against the song "God Bless America." Artists like Guthrie have helped inspire new artists in a new age of music with their own protest music. Some like NWA, confronting the problems of the law, especially surrounding African Americans. Artists like Beyoncé, who've encouraged the feminist movement and glorification of women with songs such as "Who Run the World" and "Single Ladies." Adding to this list, bands like Rage Against the Machine and Sex Pistols are honourable mentions in the protest music category, but I'll be focusing on NWA in this presentation. NWA was a rap group that was formed in 1986, helping boost the popularity of the rap genre and protected many social and political opinions through their music. The music caused a barrage of social and political opinions, with some outraged by the views of the group and some who felt they were speaking nothing but the truths and reality of being an African American living in gang-controlled violent areas. Their songs were used as a way of protest music, as they helped middle-class everyday people understand the life of less well-off people, and included some positive but also negative messages, therefore having both positive and negative influence. Their promotion of street violence, mistreatment of women, and drug use, in contrast with their undeniably unfair and unfortunate life situation, has led them to become controversial in society and have their music become significant protest music. F the Police is a song that depicts the outlandish but somewhat necessary approach that this African American group had towards social and political problems, with most of the target on the back of the police of America. The narrative highlights the ongoing tensions between African American urban youth and law enforcement. We can see how this quote is both relative to the situation back in the time of NWA and can be seen in the scenes like Indigenous Australian hip-hop scene today. Local Knowledge's song "Blackfellas" shows the intentions of his writing for the song, getting young blackfella mob back into their culture and teaching our history through music. Further, it discusses collective resistance to colonialism, which of course is a relevant subject in regard to Indigenous culture, as their land was stripped away by white settlements and white authorities. F the Police by NWA was probably the most protest music-like song the group formed. It was shocking, controversial, and confrontational. The song gathered both good and bad press, as it was used as a form of protest music against the law of America. The RollingStone.com quotes, "NWA's F the Police became the perfect protest song." It shows how the song is still relevant today with the quote, "has become the anthem of revolution, as thousands all over the world have taken to the streets in outrage over the wrongful killing of George Floyd at the hands of the Minneapolis police." This in itself shows how NWA's protest music undoubtedly has had a huge effect on society, with its legacy lasting almost 30 years and being used in modern-day BLM protests for George Floyd. Released in 1988, the album describes the everyday life of a black man in Compton. It had a huge effect on protest music, and still to this day, the imprint from this album is still very evident. One of the group members, Ice Cube, says, "It's our legacy here in America with the police department and any kind of authority figures that have had to deal with us on a day-to-day basis." Ice Cube highlights here how the song became a part of their legacy regarding the law and figures of authority. Rolling Stone says, "F the Police" serves as something like a unifying rally cry against the disease of racial injustice. This song is one of the biggest protest songs on the album and is still affecting society, with new issues regarding racial injustice and discrimination that are now evident. People have been seeing eye to eye with NWA's messages more than ever. Though NWA's music has brought much necessary protest and said some things that have needed to be said, they have also at times been seen as sexist, homophobic, and overly violent. We can see how this was depicted in the Straight Outta Compton movie. The movie received much criticism for its one-dimensional female characters. It was clear the movie didn't put in nearly as much effort into the female characters that surrounded NWA, as it was much more male-focused. In conjunction to this, there have been many times where they have said misogynistic things in their songs, and have without a doubt had a negative influence on society in this way, especially the youth through these lyrics. Lyrics like, "So if I'm poor or rich, I talk in the exact same pitch. Now the title, bitch, don't apply to all women, but all women have a little bitch in them. Though these lyrics are quite offensive, especially to women, and in many ways completely unacceptable, in later interviews, Eazy-E has justified lyrics like this and explained the true meaning behind what they meant, which is likely just a way of deflecting an obviously unacceptable way to portray women. Another problem with NWA isn't specifically their own form of protest music, but the fact that they release protest music in general. Protest music has been renowned for often causing mass separation in society and can often be ill-informed and easily discredited. Of course, most of the artists that release protest music have a mass following, which is also a problem, as people believe anything they say due to their advantage in the social space, rather than doing their own research on the problem. Much of NWA's music incited violence, leading to murders, drug abuse, or misogyny. Medium quotes, "Protest music is inherently offensive and thought-provoking." Though this quote is double-sided, and it could be looked at as a good thing with the thought-provoking element, but what speaks true is that it is inherently offensive. It causes one side of an argument to be offended, often causing retaliation, and can often make the problem worse. For example, around the time when songs released such as F the Police were becoming popular, more African Americans were becoming incarcerated as the tensions grew, and rage towards the law was increasing. This, however, doesn't undo the need for protest music, as protest music is a conundrum that is yet to only have a singular positive or negative effect. It's obvious to see that NWA's protest music is neither black or white, neither fully inherently good nor bad, but I believe the messages that they're trying to send are still more important than ever. NWA has become the pinnacle of gangster rap and have gone down as legends in the hip-hop scene. They have helped inspire BLM movements and simply made people think what life is like for an African American people, or even any darker skinned people for that matter. Yet this does not excuse their unacceptable behaviour, condoning of drugs, sexism, and condoning of violence. It proves that every case is different. Some protest music can be purely good, but in NWA's case, it's a bit more complicated.